Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. Here's wishing all our viewers a very happy and prosperous Diwali. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. A stunning Samvat 2080 ends with gains of nearly 25% despite a tepid close today. The Nifty hit record highs in 78 of the 242 sessions, which boils down to a new peak every third session. Retail frenzy offsets the FPI selling on the Lal Street this year. SIP inflows touched a new peak. Demat accounts continue to rise. Will the dream run continue in Samvat 2081? The Mahindra Group will launch 2 new ground-up electric vehicle models on the 26th of November. The launch event will be a world premiere for the group's foray into the luxury segment. The company will make key announcements on EV charging infrastructure as well. Microsoft reports a $65 billion in quarterly revenue powered by the cloud computing business, but shares decline after growth outlook disappoints Wall Street. Facebook's parent Meta reports record quarterly revenue of over $40 billion, even as advertising revenue growth slows marginally. After almost completing the disengagement process at eastern Ladakh, Indian and Chinese troops exchanged sweets on Diwali, set the stage for resumption of patrolling duties at the line of actual control. Dressed as a sanitation worker, Donald Trump campaigns in a garbage truck and rebukes President Joe Biden, who appeared to insult Trump supporters as garbage. Former Republican governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger, endorses Kamala Harris and rips into Donald Trump with just 5 days to go before the U.S. votes. Israeli strikes kill 19 people in Lebanon, even as the Lebanese Prime Minister expresses hope towards a ceasefire. UN Secretary General says the world must act to prevent what he refers to as ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Consumer durables see a 10% uptick in sales ahead of Diwali but fall short of last year's performance. Premium segment leads from the front thanks to upgrades and financing offers. Also on the show, global luxury brands fail to excite Indian consumers. Many face social media backlash for missing the mark on cultural sensitivity and lack of connection with India's ethnic heritage. Well, the big story tonight, Samvat 2080 is drawn to a close on the Lal Street, and it has been a fabulous year. The Nifty has gained 25%, the sensex is up 22%, marking one of the most successful years for the equity markets in India. Almost every sectoral index ended in the green, barring media, and there was a total of 242 sessions in Samvat 2080. Out of the 242, the Nifty hit a record high in 78 of those sessions. Essentially, the Nifty touched a new record every third session. But the year ended on a slightly tepid note. The Sensex and the Nifty closing at the low point today, tracking weak global cues. IT stocks also under pressure. Hormuz is standing by to wrap up Samvat 2080 on the Lal Street. Hormuz.
What a year Samvat 2080 has been for the markets, and even if you ignore the recent correction from the record highs that we have seen, the Nifty has still gained 25% this Samvat, and you don't see these kind of returns very often in the market despite the correction that we have seen in this month of October. The broader markets have done even better. The mid cap and the small cap indices gaining as much as 40% this Samvat. So the broader markets outperforming the benchmark indices, and the extent of the market this year is explained from this example that 78 out of the 242 sessions that we had in Samvat 2080 saw the Nifty hit a record high. Shows you the kind of market that we have been in. Now, if you look at the sectoral indices as well, almost every sectoral index delivered positive returns this month, be it auto, IT, pharma, real estate, even PSUs with gains ranging from as much as 40% to as high as 60 or 70% as well. Now, if you look at the top gainers from within the Nifty 50 index, the Trent and BEL, the two new entrants to the Nifty, were the top gainers. Trent almost tripled in value, BEL doubled as well, and stocks like Bajaj Auto, Mahindra and Mahindra also form the list in the top gainers. Within the broader markets as well, the broader markets, the mid caps belong to the PSUs who were the outperformers, and despite having corrected almost 30 to 50% from their peaks, look at these returns. Ireda is up 250%, RVNL is up almost 200%, Cochin Shipyard has halved from its peak and is still up 180% this Samvat. HUDCO as well 169% as well. Some broader market underperformers as well. Z Entertainment is down 50% this Samvat, as is Vodafone Idea down over 40%. Credit Access Grameen bearing the brunt of the MFI pain as well, seeing some bit of declines, 42% down this Samvat, and stocks like RBL Bank and IIFL Finance also featuring among the underperformers. But overall, it has been a very, very good Samvat, and a Samvat that has well and truly belonged to the retail investors.
Harmaz, many thanks. Now, Samvat 2080 also saw the rise of the retail investor. When foreign portfolio investors started selling, it was the retail frenzy that kept the markets going. SIP inflows touching a new peak and demat accounts continue to rise. Surbhi is standing by with more on the retail revolution that we've seen this year. Surbhi.
Flows have come in not just in mutual funds, but even in direct equity. I mean, that's also been a hallmark of this year. So let's talk about it by looking at first the demat account additions. That number has been a very steady number. So we're talking about 175 million demat accounts in India now. This is the latest data that's available as of September. The run rate every month is about 4 million. It was even higher in September. And if you look at it, I mean, from April, we were at about 150 odd. It's been such a steady rise, right? Markets could, come and go, and you could have some range-bound phases as well. But that number has remained intact. Now, just to put some more numbers in context on the direct equity side, if you talk about the number of active clients on the NSE, latest numbers almost touching 48 million. So that's one part of it. And discount broking obviously has had a huge role to play in all of this. So the likes of Grow, Zerodha, Angel One, I mean, they've had a phenomenal year this time around because of the kind of market share hold that they have. The top 5 discount brokers are contributing to almost 65% of the NSE client base. And Grow is actually, by the way, the leader with about 25%. Now let's come to the mutual fund story. It's sort of sipping away to that pot of gold, to the, that wealth that we're talking about. That's been the story so far. So as of the latest available figures, the industry's total AUM has crossed 67 lakh crore rupees. And the inflows at an average, I mean, I looked at this data starting from the fiscal onwards. The average inflow is somewhere between 35,000 to 40,000 crores every single month in equity funds. Let's actually bring up the tabs because, in May, we were at 34,000. So we crossed the 20,000 crore mark in April. May, suddenly there was this big surge just after, the election results came through. June, it just kept, going higher after the 4th of June. Dip was bought in a very, very big way. July, August, September, there's been a small blip. And I think October is going to be the true test. And we'll talk about that as we go forward as well. The SIP inflow, the SIP story is massive. It's phenomenal. Look at the number. The last number, we've crossed 24,000 crores being collected, being drawn in by systematic investment plans. That's been the power of retail. And it is this flow which has ensured that this $1 billion of selling that we're talking about, FPI selling in October, that has been neutralized. Imagine if these flows were not there, where the market would have been.
Surbhi, many thanks for joining us. Well, let's move from equities and talk about gold. Gold prices hitting an all-time high on Diwali in both global as well as the domestic markets. India has been seeing very strong demand for the yellow metal due to the festive season. From the last Samvat to this Samvat, gold and silver prices in India have jumped by more than 40% each. Platinum prices, meanwhile, up by about 10%. Now, oil prices rose today, extending yesterday's rally. The surge was driven by optimism over the demand for fuel from the US following an unexpected drop in crude and gasoline inventories. Prices were also supported by reports that the OPEC Plus may delay December's planned production increase by a month. Now, China's factory activity expanded in October after 5 months of contraction. The official Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index rose to 50.1, beating economists' forecast. Remember, PMI above 50 represents an expansion when compared with the previous month. The country's non-manufacturing PMI showed that activity in construction and services had expanded as well. The rise follows the central bank's announcement of a series of steps to boost the economy in late September. Now, tensions in West Asia continue to rise. At least 19 people have died after Israeli forces launched more strikes in Lebanon. Hezbollah's new chief has said that the group is open to a ceasefire, however, only under certain terms. His statement came after Israel's Security Cabinet met to discuss a possible truce. Meanwhile, officials in northern Gaza have declared Beit Lahiya a disaster zone. This after Israeli forces relentlessly bombarded the region and caused mass civilian casualties. At least 10 Palestinians were killed in the latest attack. Well, with less than a week to go for the U.S. presidential elections, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump continue their rallies in swing states, which could be crucial to the race to the White House. In the swing state of Wisconsin, Trump campaigned in a garbage truck and rebuked President Joe Biden, who appeared to insult Trump supporters, calling them garbage. He also accused both Biden and Harris of demonizing Republican supporters in a rally in the state. Meanwhile, Harris held rallies in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Wisconsin, where she accused Donald Trump of wanting unchecked power as president. Actor and former Republican Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger has joined the list of celebrities endorsing Harris and slammed Donald Trump's divisive politics.
just 6 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. And we have work to do. We still have a lot of work to do, but we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win. We will win.
Crooked Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. No way. No way. And they actually mean it, even though without question, my supporters are far higher quality than Crooked Joe or Lion Kamala. I call you the heart and soul of America. You are the heart and soul.
Well, that is the race to the White House. At least 95 people have died in the devastating floods in Spain, marking the country's deadliest disaster in decades. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez planned to visit the affected regions and convened a cabinet meeting to declare the government's commitment to support the families that have been impacted by the floods. Meanwhile, emergency services have urged people not to travel as rescue operations continue. In global earnings, Microsoft has reported strong quarterly growth. Revenue rose 16%. Net income increased 11% on an annual basis. Revenue from its cloud computing business jumped 33%, surpassing street estimates. However, Microsoft has predicted increased spending on artificial intelligence this quarter and slower growth in its cloud business, and that weighed on the stock. Facebook parent Meta Platforms has beaten Wall Street estimates on the profit and revenue fronts. However, the tech giant has warned of a steep acceleration in its AI infrastructure spending in 2025. Sales during the quarter rose 19% on an annual basis, while net income grew 35%. This is the company's lowest year-over-year growth for net income since the second quarter of 2023. Samsung reporting sales and operating profits slightly above its own expectations. The South Korean firm's operating profit nearly tripled compared to last year, while quarterly revenue stood at a record high, up 17%. However, the operating profit of its chips business fell 40% compared to the previous quarter. And British oil giant Shell reported adjusted earnings of $6 billion, beating analyst estimates. The energy company has announced it will buy back shares worth $3.5 billion over the next 3 months. In an earnings call, Shell's CFO said that this was a strong quarter for the company despite less favourable macro environment. Weaker than expected ride bookings have proven to be a dampener for Uber in the September quarter, even as it delivered record operating profit. The ride-hailing platform beat Wall Street expectations on the revenue front while missing the guidance of gross bookings. Let's head back home. Shares of L&T surging in trade today. This after the company maintained its growth guidance for all key parameters, including core margin and revenue growth for FY25 at second quarter earnings ahead of street expectations, with revenue jumping more than 20% on a yearly basis.
No, I think we are staying course with that guidance because I think it's too early to read much into how the year will end. But we are reasonably confident that we would be able to meet the guidance as we see today.
Well, that's L&T. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive tonight. The Mahindra Group will launch 2 new ground-up electric vehicle models on the 26th of November. The launch event will be a world premiere for the group's foray into the luxury segment. Parikshit is standing by with more details. Parikshit, take us through Mahindra Group's plans to enter the luxury EV segment.
Well, the Mahindra Group has so far lacked a strong electric portfolio. They just had one electric SUV, the E3XO, which has actually been converted into an electric vehicle. Now, there are 2 vehicles which are going to be launched on the 26th of November. One is going to be a luxury SUV and the other is going to be more of an off-roader. Now, what Mahindra Group is trying to do with these vehicles is somehow enter the luxury market when it comes to electric cars. So the pricing would be very competitive. The group, we are told, wants to price them around 35 lakhs. What we know that when it comes to these ground-up electric vehicles, which are at least 4 or 5 of them which are in the pipeline, the company is investing 12,000 crores in total till 2027. Now, these 2 cars, which we will see unveiled on the 26th of November, will have a very high level of connected car technologies. We're told by sources that they have advanced Qualcomm chips. There will be several ADAS features, high safety features in those SUVs as well. They are going to make the visits to the showroom to see these cars invite only for customers initially. There is a plan to export these cars too. Sales will begin sometime early next year. The company is also hiring an exclusive sales and marketing team which will be deployed across dealerships in the country to promote and explain the features of these new electric vehicles to customers. We're told that at least 500 to 600 people have already been hired. The company is also likely to explain and showcase a plan for charging infrastructure in the country. So 26th and 27th will be two important days for the Mahindra Group, and with this they aspire to enter the luxury space. Let's see how it works for one of India's largest SUV makers.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. Now, HDB Financial, the NBFC arm of HDFC Bank, has filed its draft red herring prospectus for its 12,500 crore rupee IPO. The public issue will comprise a fresh issue of shares worth 2,500 crore rupees and an offer for sale component of 1,000 crores. HDFC Bank holds more than 94% stake in the lender and will sell shares worth up to 10,000 crore rupees via the OFS route. Varun Beverages is planning to raise funds up to 7,500 crore rupees via qualified institutional placement. A money control report says these funds will be raised from institutional investors. The QIP will be launched next month and the funds will be largely used for capacity utilization. Swiggy's IPO is seeing substantial interest. Reports suggest that $1.3 billion IPO has attracted bids worth more than $15 billion from big investors like Fidelity and Norges Bank Investment Management. As per Reuters report, this is 25 times the $605 million portion reserved for such investors. The IPO will launch next week. Indian and Chinese troops exchanged sweets along the Ladakh border on Diwali, setting the stage for resumption of patrolling duties at the line of actual control. Army sources had said yesterday that the process of disengagement in Ladakh's border areas of Depsang and Demchok has now been completed. The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that India will try to go beyond disengagement at LAC, but it will take some time.
भारत और चीन के बीच LAC पर कुछ क्षेत्रों में अपने कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स को रिजॉल्व करने में यानी सुलझाने में डिप्लोमेटिक और मिलिट्री लेवल पर लंबे समय से बात चल रही थी। हम सबके लंबे प्रयासों के बाद LAC पर ग्राउंड सिचुएशन को रिजॉल्व करने में हम आपस में एक कंसेंसस पर पहुंच गए हैं और उसमें कामयाबी हम सबको हासिल हुई है।
Well, that's the Defence Minister. Up next on India Business Hour, global luxury brands fail to excite Indian consumers. Many face social media backlash for missing the mark on cultural sensitivity and the lack of connection with India's ethnic heritage. That and more when we return. You can catch all of CNBC-TV18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. Now, consumer durable segment has seen a 10% uptick in sales ahead of Diwali. However, it's fallen short of last year's performance. Industry sources say the premium segment led from the front thanks to upgrades and financing offers. Shilpa has more.
All the commentary that's coming in from consumer durable makers this time is that the festive season has been reasonably good, but not as good as they would have expected it to be. From what we're given to understand, the industry has seen about a roughly 10% growth only this time. Remember, this is the period where consumer durables see most of their sales coming in. Nearly 30% of their sales come during the festive months. And last year, they had seen about a roughly 30% growth over the previous year. So in that comparison, this year, it's just been about a 10% growth. This has been led obviously by the premium segment, but that also companies are saying is because most consumers are looking to upgrade through financing offers and EMIs, and that is what has led growth for premium segment appliances as well. There is some uptick being seen in rural and semi-urban markets. This is because products like semi-automatic washing machines have sort of done well this time. Even LED TVs, these are the products that usually bought by this segment. Those have done reasonably well this time. Now, if you look at category specific, right? Washing machines saw roughly about a 5% growth, refrigerators roughly 12%, televisions also roughly about 7% growth, but large screen TVs, which is more than 55-inch, those TVs which come in the premium segment, they have actually seen a very healthy growth of, nearly of a good double-digit growth. And that is what we're given to understand. If you look at a few company-specific comments, Vijay Sales said that it saw reasonably good sales this year. It's expecting a high single-digit growth over last year, and given the kind of consumer consumer environment we're seeing, that is a healthy sign. That's the comment that's coming in from there. Blue Star, which sells ACs, and though this is not a season for ACs, it's seen about a roughly 15 to 20% growth over the last festive season. LG India has said that it's seen good growth across all categories, especially premium products like large capacity washing machines and refrigerators, and it has said that the demand for premium products has also increased in tier 2 and 3 markets. Similar comments also coming in from BSH Home Appliances, which says since it mostly operates in the premium segment, that has seen about a 25% growth. So yes, there is some growth being seen, but not as good as they would have anticipated, usually what they see during the festive season. Back to you.
Shilpa, many thanks. While consumer durables may have seen an uptick in sales closer to Diwali, it seems that many global luxury brands have missed the bus. Shivani Bajaj finds out that while many luxury brands fail to excite the top-end Indian consumer with their offerings for allegedly lacking cultural relevance, a few did manage to hit the right chord. Take a look.
The festive season is usually the best time for retail businesses, and this year the sale of premium and luxury goods are leading the way in sales. But why are some global luxury giants missing the mark when it comes to Indian consumers? As India's luxury market surges, global brands are increasingly launching festive collections to appeal to the Indian consumer. But despite the hype, these collections often fall flat, with netizens critiquing them for missing the mark on cultural sensitivity. Case in point, Christian Louboutin's Diwali capsule collection, which faced backlash for its dated style and lack of connection with India's rich ethnic heritage. While brands like Bulgari and Tod's have found more success by tapping into meaningful Indian cultural elements, many international labels seem to misinterpret what resonates with India's top-tier consumers. Christian Louboutin's Diwali collection. Shoes with traditional Indian prints and motifs with bright colors like fuchsia, rose, yellow and gold. But the luxury brand failed to excite the Indian customer. Customers took to social media to call the designs tacky, very NRI-ish, a school project using waste materials, and some even claimed they can get better stuff in old Delhi's markets.
Global brand is very, very interested in India. Now, when you talk to the top-end Indian, it's extremely important to get ethnic, get local, etc. But many brands do not understand and they do not contextualize. You know, India, the land of snake charmers, where cows and buffaloes are, swarming on the streets, etc., etc. This kind of a story. The great Indian rope trick. Now, much of this finds its way into design.
On the other hand, brands which have taken time to understand cultural sensitivities and the preferences of a well-travelled, fashion-conscious Indian customer have done better. Bulgari's recent Mangalsutra collection, for instance, has been praised for its minimalistic yet deeply symbolic design. Italian brand Tod's collaboration with Indian designer Rahul Mishra brought an authentic touch to its India-inspired line, highlighting the right recipe for success.
There's this new collaboration with Rahul Mishra and Tod's, which is beautiful. The consumer is very intelligent and very smart now. They're not just going with the brand name. You have to give them more. They want value for money.
For luxury brands eyeing India, understanding its vast culture and diversity is key. While the country's top-end customers are drawn to global luxury brands, they also expect cultural relevance, quality and value for money. As India's influence in the global luxury market grows, one thing is clear. Brands that can adapt and celebrate India's unique heritage are the ones that will ultimately win customer loyalty. In New Delhi, this is Shivani Bajaj.
Well, in recent months, a new wave of trading scams has swept across India, impacting unsuspecting investors who were promised huge profits through social media ads and messaging apps. Now, these scams have cost individuals their savings. Over 1,400 crore rupees have been lost to this scam. Rachna Dhanrajani joins us now. Rachna, take us through how one can stay safe and how one can stay alert and avoid getting trapped by these trading scams.
Many of these scams begin with eye-catching ads on social media, often using photos of well-known stock market experts or fake news articles to create a sense of trust. These ads promise free trading tips, enticing victims to join WhatsApp groups or Telegram channels. This is where they receive so-called insider tips on making money by investing in shares. Once in these groups, the victims are encouraged to follow specific trading instructions and download certain apps. However, here's the catch. These apps are not registered with SEBI, the stock market regulator. Yet, many investors often fail to verify this critical detail. After installing the app, victims are asked to deposit funds into specific bank accounts. The money is supposedly invested in the stock market, and the victims even see profits reflecting in their app wallet. But these are entirely fake. Initially, the victims believe they're making substantial gains. But when they attempt to withdraw their money, they're told they need to accumulate more, often between rupees 30 to 50 lakh rupees, before they can cash out. This forces them to keep investing more and more. In fact, they're even asked to pay taxes on these fictional profits, adding another layer of deception. These scams recently came to light in Assam, when several investors complained that they had not received the returns that they were promised by these promoters who were actually scammers. Investigations revealed that these fraudsters, often in their 20s, had raised hundreds of crores from people across the state with the allure of high returns. This scam alone was of 2,200 crore rupees. So how can you protect yourself? Here are a few red flags that you can watch out for. First, always verify if the trading app is registered with SEBI. Be cautious of ads promising guaranteed high returns, and remember, legitimate investments never require constant reinvestment or tax payments on profits to allow withdrawals. Also, secure your finances. Ensure that you're using secure payment methods. Avoid transferring money directly into unknown accounts for trading. Here's also a list of what you should not be doing. Firstly, do not trust promises of guaranteed high returns. Do not act on social media tips or ads alone, and do not download unknown apps. With new scams emerging regularly, it's essential to stay informed and cautious. If you or someone you know have any suspicion or have fallen victim to such scams, report it immediately to authorities and seek help. Always double check before you invest to avoid falling into the trap of these online trading scams.
Well, Rachna, many thanks, and we do hope that you keep some of those tips in mind. Stay safe, have a prosperous and very happy Diwali. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. From all of us here, goodbye and many thanks for watching.